How would you describe yourself as a child? Were you like really into school, sports, or music early on?
Well, I was always, I was definitely athletic. You know what I'm saying? As a little guy, as a little guy, I used to play on little basketball teams and all my young life. You know what I'm saying? PAL, Gauchos. You know what I'm saying? Boys Club. That was just what I did. Basketball. That was my whole program.
Got you. Okay. So early on, did you have a love for music already, though?
Yeah. I always loved music, man. Music. Like I said, I had a young mother. So she would just blast music and I wasn't one of those kids that couldn't that needed noise. I needed the noise level super low. Like she was the type that she would actually try to prime me into like getting used to music. It seemed like I remember and asking her now, she tells me about it. Like, yeah, when you were young, I used to play music loud, just to, so you can get used to it. Cause I didn't, I wanted you to know that, I love music and I wanted you to understand how I felt about music. And so I remember a lot of instances where I would be laying there at night and, just the bass from the music would be pumping and I used to be laying there just listening to the bass and the bass would just put me to sleep. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It came, you know what I'm saying? The bass
So
from the
that became
music.
your white noise that helped,
Huh?
like that white noise that helps you like fall asleep.
Yeah, basically, you know what I mean? And so now that's why I probably could sleep through anything, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to the bass.
Right.
Yeah, word
So you
up.
were born in the 70s, but really coming up in the 80s, right? Take us through what Harlem was like at that time. You're a kid walking the street. What are you seeing?
I mean, Harlem was a close knit place at that time, man. That's I grew up in the era where, people were still, rear the children, you know what I'm saying? Yo, look, what you doing? What you doing, young? What you doing over here, young blood? If you was out too late, get on in the house. What you doing out here? People would chase you out of the street. You know what I'm saying? A
So
lot
it
of,
was very much still like kind of like when they say like it takes like a whole village to raise a child and everything. So you had that sense of community there.
definitely, definitely, it was definitely like that in Harlem, man. It was real. It was real cultural, man, full of culture, man. When I was growing up, and the good and the bad. You know what I'm saying? It was definitely a beautiful time. A lot of number holes. Uh, just like just nothing but culture around, man. You couldn't escape it.
Right, because during this time, you're coming up when hip hop is like really at its adolescence, right? And then also at the same time, the crack era is happening during the 80s, right? So, how would you say those two things started to affect you and shape you from early on?
Well, I have to say, man, that era definitely, you know, opened my eyes to, the fact that, you could, the power dynamic of the ghetto. You know what I'm saying? And understanding that, if you were getting some type of money, you had some type of sway, some type of pull, some type of weight in amongst the community. You know what I'm saying? So I think I learned that from that age, from that era. That's what that era kind of taught me. And later on, I learned, the effects of the drugs and themselves. Like, you know what I mean? Seeing people, you know, becoming, what we knew as crackheads and, people just strung out on drugs and stuff like that.
Because as a child, I'm sure you're seeing this around you, right? You're seeing people that are under the influence, or you're seeing vials on the floor. Did you know at that age like what was happening around you? Like, did someone fill you in on that?
Um, nah, man. I mean, you kind of just figure it out. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
it was like you didn't really need to. You know, you saw it. Like, you know what I mean? Like you didn't have to wonder. You know what I mean? You saw the guys, in the street, hustling, smoking crack. You saw the dealers dealing with the dudes that were on drugs. You saw what was going on. Somebody was, you know, more disheveled and, not well kept. And then you had others that were well kept and groomed and you saw how they were being treated. Like, so you knew that, okay, something is going on. All right. Oh, yeah, this one must be on drugs. This one is selling them the drugs. You know what I mean? So you kind of start, the kids are smart. Kids are smarter than what you give them credit for. Like, you know what I mean? Like, all it takes is like one kid to understand what's going on. And, kids come outside and, and they explain it. Yeah, you're on drugs. You smoking that stuff everybody talk about, crack. And then dudes is like, oh yeah. So now the whole little community knows about it. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's, so it's
Right.
just word of mouth. You just figure it out as a youth. You know what I mean?
Would you say that the movie Paid in Full did a really good job of depicting what that time period was really like?
Yeah. Yeah. It did a good job. You know, it kind of like, described the street life well. You know what I mean? It was accurate. You could tell whoever, was a part of it, they were there. You know what I mean? So they just, they were on point with the clothing and, you know what I'm saying? Things of that nature. And, of course they were on location. So it wasn't like,
Mm-hmm.
they had to, actually make anything up. You know what I'm saying? But they were accurate. You know what I mean?